For your information, I got a job.
Really? What kind of job?
Beads.
Bees?
Beads.
Beads?
Job's not on board.
Beads are very big right now. Anklets, necklaces, you name it.
Bracelets.
But I'll need some startup money.
I'm in. But we're gonna need a lot. Beads aren't cheap. Are beads cheap? TBTL!
Actually, one thing we do here for fun is we give an extra $50 to whoever has the best comment today.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh my God. Man, I could really use that cash, Mark. I mean, that cash could really get me out of a couple of jams.
This stuff is so funny, by the way. Did the comic come up with this? Because some of this stuff, like, I feel like I could see somebody doing in their act.
If we wanted to, we could have our own business.
No, I agree. If we really wanted to, we could. It's just that, do we want to do that? Do we want to have a website and a blog and be like, this is what we did today?
No, it's too much work.
Yeah.
And too expensive.
Sounds like a fundraising opportunity to me.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Tuesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Oh, wow.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia. My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
It is day 2 of TBTL-a-Thon 15. Thank you for being a 10.
Gotta figure out how to make money on this thing. It's simply too good.
And we are once again taking our very lives in our hands. We're putting our lives on the line in terms of the temperature here, high above the Columbia River. Today is going to be the apex of the heat this week. It's going to be very, very warm.
It's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
But just not yet. Here as we do the show, things are fine. Later on in the afternoon, things will be less fine, but hopefully we'll make it through in one piece, because this is a very important week. This is the week that we remind you that TBTL only exists because of your donations, and we would love it if you can go to tbtl.net and see all the thank you gifts and maybe help us with a little cash that could get us out of a couple of jams. We are coming to you, of course, live worldwide via YouTube right now.
Welcome to the internet.
Which means we can also take your phone calls.
Ahoy, ahoy.
At 206-414-TBTL. 206-414-8285. If you call right now, you too could wait up to 37 minutes to get on the air, as happened yesterday to our friend Max in Brooklyn. It might be longer than 37 minutes because we have to talk about friendship bracelets today.
Beads.
Bees?
Beads.
Beads?
We all decamped to our respective dwellings after the TBTL Zoom last night. By the way, thank you to everyone who zoomed in for a TBTL I Crafted My Pants night, including the 11-hour-old baby, who I'm going to be honest, didn't really add a lot to the program. Kind of the strong silent type. Baby TBD. Ben's baby TBD. We met a baby last night on the Zoom that doesn't have a name yet, people. That's what kind of stuff happens on TBTL I Crafted My Pants night. But anyway, after that was all done, John, Andrew, and I decided to finally get serious about this bracelet thing. And, well, we've got a lot to report on here on this Tuesday morning, so we will do that. Speaking of my good friend Andrew, the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships, he's also a soulful rocker from
New Hampshire.
And he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I'm a different person from the person you knew yesterday. I walked in here today,
Yes.
a bracelet. I walked out that door yesterday never having
Yes.
made a bracelet in my life.
Yeah.
I walk in here today a bracelet maker.
Yes.
I cannot wait to compare notes with you.
I actually had that thought last night. I was like, when you all saw me last night at about, 7:30, 8 p.m., I was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
I was a business boy pretending to be a bracelet man.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
by about 2 in the morning last night, something fundamentally had shifted inside of me, and I understood the siren song of the friendship bracelet in a very, very real and tangible way. Speaking of siren songs, look at who's over there on the hot corner. Who's over there on third base? It's TBTL employee numero uno, Mr. John Sklarov.
I'm his best friend, also co-boss.
He may be our co-boss, and he's joining us right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you feeling on this Tuesday?
I felt better before. I felt better, but I'm
Really?
gonna-
Did you also have a punch bowl size margarita like Andrew did the other night?
That was Sunday night. That was
Sunday,
gearing
yeah.
up for the thon.
I
Yeah.
see. I see.
That did not happen last night.
No, not. I had a really great burger though in Kelso.
Yeah, you
last
guys
night.
went
Yeah.
to the neighborhood pub that I recommended, and that's always a bit of a pressure situation when you tell someone where to go have dinner. It was okay. You guys enjoyed it.
It was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I told you I made an awkward joke like we were talking.
You
to the-
literally said that.
What's
I
that?
thought you meant that kind of joking.
No, I literally made a joke that didn't make sense. It came out of my mouth, and I immediately regretted it.
You made the awkward joke to me or to somebody who worked at the tavern.
Last night, John and I belly up to the bar at the Triangle Tavern, and it's my kind of place. Good recommendation. Nice little bar tavern. They had pull tabs. I didn't pull any tabs, but it's just it was a place that I felt very comfortable in. My kind of place. You nailed it. And we order a couple of Coors Lights, maybe a PBR for John, and a couple of burgers. And we're, I'm chatting a little bit with the bartender, and you can tell like she's chatting with some regulars. But she did say right away when we walked in, all the beers on tap were not available because of the heat. It hurt like something broke essentially. I don't know how beer works. And I was like, oh, that's no problem, bottle of Coors Light or whatever. But then later on, somebody else kind of came in and sat down next to me, and she said, yeah, sorry, no draft beer. Like, our whole system is down. She said, except, well, the one thing you can get is cider. And I don't know why I said this. I just said, that's how you know there's no God. Because and it didn't even make sense. That's exactly what happened. And like,
you didn't go with a cider house rules.
I was just kind of
reference. You don't see this as a cider house rules kind of pub.
It was more like, so I have this whole theory about Brazil nuts and atheism. I always think that like you know this, right?
If I have known this in the past, it's whiffed out of my brain.
Just generally
Please remind
speaking,
me.
I just think if they were a god, or at least a benevolent god, they wouldn't have created. What is that noise? Is our computer going down? I literally, the computer that feeds the video is that's screaming at us right now. And does it have that?
Seems like a possible problem.
Yeah, I might need to. Let's try this for the time being and see if that does anything.
Andrew is unplugging
the
power to the computer. That sounds like
seem to work, but what happened?
Whatever the internal mechanisms of that computer are, they just started grinding on each other. That really grinds my gears.
There's been a yellow warning light on my battery when it's plugged in, and so I just unplugged the power for a second and plugged it back in. I don't know if our whole stream is going to go down.
Are we still on the internet? Is it still happening?
That's how you know there is a God. I was in the middle of a terrible story, and they were just like,
well,
all right, no, let's...
Jokes are really difficult, I must say.
So anyway, my point is, it just seemed like this thing of like, who at this bar really wants to drink a cider right now? And it just sort of seemed like
let's get back to
taken away...
Let's get back to this. Brazil nuts are a sign that there is no God.
I just hate Brazil nuts, and I just sort of think that like if there was a God, he wouldn't have made
so
Brazil nuts.
Of the things that I think likely disprove the notion of a benevolent God, I'm going to be honest with you. I would list Brazil nuts fairly. They'd be far down the list.
Real, like genocide is higher.
No, above genocide.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Brazil nuts suck. Right?
I would say the Mariners' recent hitting on their homestand. Definitely top 5. The computer that is broadcasting our entire program that we've worked very hard to set up, just actually digesting itself like a sarlacc. I'd put that at number 2. So Mariners batting woes. Computer issues, number 2.
Isn't there a movie based on a Philip K. Dick novel called Screamers, and it's about these little robots that live right under the sand in their little balls, and they go screaming across the desert?
I don't
that's
know
what
about
my
this.
I don't. I think it might be Screamers. Anyway, that's what my computer sounded like. Let's hope we can keep this rig going for.
What was the
90
response?
minutes.
What was the response in the bar when you said?
Good.
Did you say that to the person who was trying to order the cider or to the bartender?
I said it to the bar. I said
Just
it
to
to the bar at
room.
large. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And by the way, just for the record, like I'm not trying to depict me being like way into my cups. I had like I think
we each had a beer.
Yes, which I don't even think I finished mine. This was just me being an idiot. Like it just came out of my mouth, like kind of like, oh, we don't have anything. And it was also just like we'd been commenting about how hot it was. The bartender seemed like she'd had a long day. You know, she was very nice. She was a great bartender.
Super friendly.
I just was trying to like kind of, I don't know, just sort of like
listen,
connect
I
with
understand.
people. And I just
Swing and a miss.
And she just said, "Oh yes, well there's one." She says, "This guy next to me, there's one thing you can get from the tap, and it's a cider." And he was like, "No," and I was just like, "That's how you know there's no God." Like that's, and I just let it there, and she just sort of looked and went, "Huh." And then and I was like, oh, well, that didn't make a lot of sense for starters.
Well,
and also,
you have to set them up on your Brazil nut joke.
Well, that's the thing.
You got to start that.
Well, I was expecting John to do that as my wingman. He sets up a Brazil nut,
That's
and then
the system.
Spike it. No, the whole thing.
Do you know nothing about setting up jokes, John? You guys get in there. You lay the groundwork. Hey,
this was
do you guys
your
have
fault.
Do you guys have Brazil nuts? We do. Well, that proves there's no God. And then when Andrew brings it in, Andrew closes the deal with his cider joke.
Anyway, so sorry to everybody who had to listen to this story.
I think I made a comment about you being rude to people with celiac too, so maybe that also hurt.
Wow.
You did say, you really.
I'm so, what's the word? Not sad I missed this dinner engagement.
yeah, exactly.
I'm so sad that I was absolutely slamming some taco time, which I was, and it was delicious.
Did you order it right? Did you get the spicy Italian BMT?
I did, with extra habanero.
Okay, good.
And a Baja Blast.
Fantastic.
No, I did go through the drive-thru at taco time.
Can we have a breaking news sounder, Luke? Because this is happening in the chat, or can I just,
TBTL breaking news.
Sorry to cut you off. Ben from last night with unnamed baby has confirmed the name of the baby.
Whoa, okay.
Jonah.
Great
name.
Don't let him near a whale.
Well, yeah.
But, I mean, that's implied.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Ben and wife and Jonah and Zap.
Was that the first?
And Roger. I wanted the other baby to be named Roger, so it would be a kind of a Zap and Roger thing, but that's kind of asking a lot. I don't think we're naming young babies Roger currently.
And you set this up at the beginning of the show, but I mean, just to like kind of add a little bit of more context for this, I believe this was the first time we've ever held sort of a TBTL Zoom party where somebody is zoomed in from a hospital.
And here's what was interesting about that. We were whispering, and Ben wasn't.
Yeah.
Ben was talking in a normal speaking voice. We were like,
a little reckless, Ben.
We were like talking like this. And then, and you want to, Andrew, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't suffer from a ton of intrusive thoughts, regretting things that I've said and done.
That's how you know there's no God.
People would. God, the Cider House Rules is some of John Irving's finest work. But I don't generally kind of replay things in my mind a lot. But I was replaying something from last night, which was Ben zoomed in with this brand new baby. Tiny, hours-old baby, and said, it's interesting, we haven't named the baby yet. And out of the frame, who we could not see was Ben's wife. Mm-hmm. We knew they were in the hospital room. We knew that Ben's wife had just given birth. Mm-hmm. We did not see her. I've never personally given birth. My sense for the whole thing is it's pretty tiring. Mm-hmm. It's almost like,
it's a whole thing.
It's right, exactly. And so... and also it's the kind of thing that could put you in an emotional state where maybe you don't want your husband calling a podcast with the baby in tow. Mm-hmm. These are all things that could have been occurring in that room. And then I go off and say, well, what are the names that are in the running? Mm-hmm. And Ben starts, his mouth opens, and the words are almost coming out of his mouth, and then he freezes. Mm-hmm. And you can tell somebody across the room, I'm guessing his wife, who, have I mentioned, gave birth 11 hours previous, shoots him a look that said, over my dead body, you will be sharing this information with a bunch of randos online.
I think he said something like, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Yeah. And I felt so embarrassed that I even asked that. What an ass.
You should be more embarrassed that he did confirm while he couldn't say what names were in the running. He definitively said Luke and Andrew were not in the running. Those were early scratches.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. You know what? We've got enough Lukes running around. Luke was, when I was a kid, not a very popular name. It was very biblical, which embarrassed me deeply. My family, we got the biblical names out the wazoo. Luke, Elizabeth, Sarah, Hannah,
Elijah,
Rachel. Who else we got in there?
Noah?
Sam, David. We had a Matthew who passed away sadly. We really had every biblical name you could have. And so I didn't embrace the Skywalker side of Luke as a kid. I thought of the biblical side, and I was kind of a bit embarrassed. And then, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years ago, I feel like there was a resurgence of Luke's.
Oh, I didn't realize
it's sort
that.
Of, I see. Also, it's like when you buy a car, you start to notice the car.
Yeah.
I notice whenever anyone is named Luke.
Mm-hmm.
How's Andrew doing? How's Andrew trending as a
These
name?
days? I don't really know. You and I we almost talked about, that was one of those stories we promoted and didn't talk about on TBTL
That
about
would never
the
happen.
popularity of names. And they had I think it was the Washington Post, and they had some tool built in where you could sort of measure it. But I found the tool to be very, did you?
Yeah, it wasn't that helpful.
It was
I put
not
Luke
very
in there.
helpful as I could. I think that Andrew, if I had to guess, is kind of just a steady, probably never super popular, but never super unpopular. Again, it's biblical.
I think. Wait, is Andrew biblical?
Sure.
Who was the Andrew in the Bible?
Yeah.
He was Rap Battle Andrew. You guys are not familiar.
Yeah. Right.
No,
Rap Battle Andrew. Well, he was a saint, probably.
Saint Andrew, but also
Did Andrew free the Israelites? That's I'm sorry, that was Kevin.
Andrew the Apostle.
Andrew the Apostle.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
I almost said apostle, but then all of my
the
confidence.
Apostle though, like what era of apostle?
Again, he is
80s?
a rapper from the 80s called
Actually,
Andrew the Apostle.
Oh yeah, he used to open for third base sometimes.
You want to talk about laying down verses, Luke?
But hey, let me.
That was a good
spitting bars. Oh yeah,
verses.
Right. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, thank
God,
you. That's how you know there isn't a God.
wait. What? Can I ask something though?
Saint Andrew was an apostle of Jesus.
But Saint Andrew, an apostle. Oh, apostle of Jesus. He was around at Jesus' time.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
All right,
He was one of the 12 apostles.
He was one of the 12 apostles.
Yeah, there's 12 of us.
Okay.
And by the way,
there are dozens of us.
I'm really leaning into it. And for the record, I'm not actually Andrew the Apostle, but it is a biblical name.
I didn't realize that. It sounds newer to me. And then John is obviously an apostle, but yours is Jon.
Yeah, my name, I go Jon short for Jonathan.
Gotcha.
So that's where that is. But John is, I think, right.
And how's John doing out there in the marketplace of ideas?
I think it's doing. I'm actually looking at John Prine poster you have back
right,
there.
But
I think it's doing good.
Really, I don't feel like people are naming their kids John, Andrew, or Luke at this point. I think they're all being named Braden.
Yeah.
I came in here today.
Or Jonah.
I'm so relieved Ben's peace and love, by the way, but I'm just so relieved that Ben's kid is not a Braylon.
There might be Braylons in the audience.
There might be, and by the way, it's a beautiful.
Don't listen to that guy.
One of the things that Washington
I'm your
Post,
fun uncle.
One of the things that Washington Post article brought up, Andrew, and listen, and a topic we don't get to is just a future conversation we can have
when we've forgotten the article.
Yeah, it's just I remember it. I remember it vividly.
That's true. I shouldn't.
One of the things that they pointed out, and I actually think this is worth noting, is that I am somebody who likes to kind of maybe cast a little bit of a jaundiced eye towards newer names, like names that are not the names that have been around for a few hundred years, because it just sounds new and unusual to me. But one of the things they pointed out is that we have stopped the convention of everybody just being named for an ancestor. Mm-hmm. It just used to be that like your great-grandfather had a name, so you got that name, or your great-grandmother or your aunt. We just named people after the people who had come before them. And then at some point we stopped doing that. And when we stopped doing that, we realized, well, we got to come up with some new names. Mm-hmm. And here we are using new names. And I like to kind of make fun of the new names, but they're equally valid. And there's an explanation for that. So I want to just apologize to any Bradens in the audience, or Braylons, or Braxtons, or Tristans.
Yes.
You have beautiful Lakins, Blakins, Blakeleys, Lakeleys.
I want to see how far I can get this.
And any of these newish cool names, I salute you, and I think this would be a great time for you to finally start donating to the TBTL-a-Thon.
If you are under the age of 10, we have to legally say it is okay for you to find your parents' credit cards and use them, but we need the 3 numbers on the back.
Just hold it up on the Zoom right now, or whatever exact YouTube. Just go on camera, please go in the comment section and just hold up the back 3 numbers for us.
Who's the bad capitalist now, John?
Hey, you guys,
There's a Danny crying
can we
somewhere.
take a moment, please? And by a moment, I mean a long-ass time to talk about beads.
Beads.
Bees?
Beads.
Beads?
All right, I've already sort of set this up. Last night at around 8 o'clock, we all went our separate ways, and for the very first time, put needle and thread to bead, and started actually trying to make these friendship bracelets. Oh, one other thing too, just to kind of set this up, can we run through, because if you weren't on the Zoom last night, you might not know this, the TBTL terms that are going to be on these handmade friendship bracelets.
No, that's right. We made the big reveal to our
We
Zoomers.
did. This is why you like to. A lot goes on in these Zooms. We're doing one on Wednesday night, by the way, 5 p.m. West Coast, I believe.
That's right.
You can sign up for that. It was really fun last night.
It really
too.
was.
The craftiness of the tens of listeners is just so impressive.
And I really enjoyed, I spent some time, we'll probably get into this, but I spent some time separating out some beads during the Zoom.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if afterwards you guys were going to say that was kind of distracting. I hope it wasn't, because that was a lot of fun for me. I like the idea of doing something somewhat crafty during the craft Zoom.
So there are 5, as of right now, the plan is for 5 different messages on the friendship bracelets. And if you donate at any level, you will get one of these that one of the 3 of us made. And it will be random, though. That's the thing, because it's just logistically too complicated. So you'll get, you might get a friendship bracelet that says friendo.
Call it friendo.
You might get a friendship bracelet that says power out. Power out. Just like that. You might get one that says spreadsheet.
Isn't that for techno geeks with spreadsheet?
Or one that says slabjacking.
Slabjacking.
Or one that says junior slugger. Sluggers.
Junior
slugger, as in
because we have to
slugger.
save the
You're
extra
a
S.
junior. You are a junior
Right.
slugger.
We couldn't
We could afford the
S's.
extra S at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
No.
no.
If this goes well, this Thon, we may have money for extra S's next year, but not this time around. So those are the messages, if you will, the little words that'll be on there, and then there's the other colorful beads. So I took on a slabjacking. Andrew, you were it was TBD. You were going to do friendo, but it was all going to depend on your kind of wrist and hand stuff that you've been dealing with.
Yeah, so I mentioned that during the Zoom last night, I was separating out beads. What I was separating out is something that has become apparently the bane of your existence, which is we have bags of beads, and I'll hold some of these up. We have these bags of beads, and most of them 1 bag per letter. So you have a bunch of R's for friendo or N's for friendo. However, a bunch of the vowels are all mixed up.
Is that
that's
just
what I'm
that's
holding
just
right
because
here.
vowels are less common? They just sell them as a combo pack?
Because of the quantity of things we need, we do have some bags that are specific vowels that we need more of those vowels. Like,
How much did we save on combo bags?
I was ready for this conversation.
Listen, as master of coin, I take this very seriously.
Yeah, maybe too seriously in this particular manner. As I had my jeweler's eye out last night, going like A's, 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 I's, I's, I's. It turns out slabjacking has 2 A's. I was very disappointed to learn. 'Cause, like, I have 2 ramekins of A's that I'm like, you're my precious. Whereas the B's, it's like, can I get a word that has 8 B's in it? Because B's have their own bag. It's just like...
But one thing I did want to, so the reason I bring this up now is because you were asking me, like, I was responsible for making friendo bracelets. If I'd never made a bracelet before, and we weren't sure because these are difficult to make anyway, but also my fingertips are numb because of some stuff I'm dealing with, whether or not I'd literally be able to make them or not. And I'm not going to get into my how many bracelets I made yet, but I will say I knew that if I went back to my hotel and I could not make any bracelets at all, one thing I could do is continue to sort out vowels, and
which
not just
is
for
a
me.
Which is a useful service.
Exactly, but for
I
you
spent
guys
a good
as
hour
well.
sorting A's and I's last night.
So before we get into my bracelet making, I do want to show you that these, I've separated these out. These are shareable. These are E's and I's for you, Luke. And
you got A's?
We got A's. I got plenty here. You want a bag of A's? Here's a bag of A's, Luke.
Andrew,
Look at
you
that.
just changed my life.
That's what I'm saying. And so I was trying to make use of my time that way.
That was
and then,
really good use of your time. This is like... These A's might get me through,
yeah,
bro.
and I don't even need any A's.
I just need these A's to feel normal.
So I did.
Well, there you go.
separate
Problem
out, like,
solved.
2 or
Hey,
3.
thank you. That was very helpful.
Yeah, now I can get you some. I can get you some more, man. I can get you some more. So I definitely separated out a lot of vowels last night. That really spoke to me, and I did make some bracelets. We'll do a count in a little bit here, but I will say this. It took me a long time to get set up in my
the pre-production on these bracelets, it turns out, is really the work.
And also because I didn't watch any YouTube videos how to do it. I knew I kind of wanted to use these big beading needles or whatever, but I really did not know exactly what I was doing. The folks on Zoom, especially Carolyn, who was on the Zoom, gave us a lot of good advice. So when I went back, I sort of had an idea. I was talking to Genevieve on the phone, and I laid out all my stuff, but it probably did take me at least an hour setup and
Yes.
figuring things out before I finally sat down and got into sort of a real production mode. So I don't remember what your question was.
Well,
but
just sort of what the experience was. John, what was it like? Now, John, I want to also mention
Yeah.
you had a bunch of work, non-bracelet related work to do in terms of just like moving people over from various levels and things. And like, I mean, this is really, as I've said, your week to shine. And by shine, I mean your week to work really hard from early in the morning until late at night. So the idea that you're also trying to do something with the beads is sort of crazy, actually, as even an idea. But what was it like for you trying to set this whole deal up for yourself?
Can I get fish for more sympathy here?
Yes,
because
you can.
so
Absolutely.
I flew in first thing in the morning Sunday from
Yes, you did.
Minnesota to Seattle, drove down to your place with Andrew. And then Sunday night, I'm like, I'm going to go to bed early because it's a big week.
Yeah.
And after getting back to our hotel late, I'm like, I need a shower. I was like traveling, and that gave me a second win. So Sunday, I didn't go to bed till like 1:30 West Coast time.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
Because that's like 3:30 where you're from.
So yesterday morning, wake up, we're all hyped up for day one.
Yeah.
So
You crashed.
Well, you would think I did. So we got back from dinner 9:30. 10 o'clock, Andrew.
This is last night.
Last night.
You
after
snorted an entire line of bees, and you were bouncing bees. You were bouncing off the ceiling.
We did the Zoom.
Beads.
Beads.
We do the Zoom, eat dinner, get back to the hotel. As you said, a couple hours of work. Then I'm like, all right, it's 11:30, time to start making beads. And it took me about 30, 40 minutes to crack the code for
and
the
you
first
were
one.
power out. Your word was power out.
And
that's a big one. And is it one word or are you putting a bead
I'm putting
in
a bead in between
Nice,
this.
nice.
Yeah. And so it took me about 40 minutes before I figured out. I literally in my hotel, and like I jokes aside, like I don't really need sympathy. Like we're doing this because people are giving us money and we're grateful for it. I, for a moment, almost broke down in the hotel. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Let me ask you this. Did either of you have a moment where you you got an entire bracelet threaded and then you broke the string? And have you ever felt more sadness recently in your life?
Yeah.
Leaving out Joe Biden's debate performance. Because there were a couple moments, there were some dark moments of the soul for me last night. I was sitting out at that like picnic table. Also, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I just started out there. I got home with my taco time. I laid out a towel and I just like started there. And then once I was locked into a system, I was just like trapped out there till almost 2 a.m. I heard coyotes. I mean, far away, but I was like,
but they're attracted to beads.
What, bees?
Beads.
I was like, I don't know what goes on here. I'm never out here at 2 a.m.
Right.
Like, is this unsafe? I had a headlamp on.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on
because
Instagram.
I had my glasses and a friggin' headlamp on. But then I
took some pretty sweet photos of my beads last night, and I almost posted them. And I was like, oh, Luke probably wants to embargo this so we can show off all of our stuff. And then I wake up in the morning, what do I see? That you've plastered Instagram.
Yeah, but you know what? I actually zoomed in on those. I enhanced. You couldn't really tell. I think it was hard to tell what my word was.
Yeah, sure.
But all that is to say, there were some moments towards, I kind of set a number for myself, and I was like getting close, and I was just getting more and more exhausted. And there was a couple times where I was just trying to kind of go fast, and I snapped the elastic with slabjacking and the beads, and they just kind of went everywhere. And it was just like...
Was that when you were tying the knot? Is
yeah.
that what snapped? Okay.
And I just was like... And then, like, I'm trying to catch a couple of them.
In your
I'm looking
lap,
around for, like, an S that's rolled down the patio. Like, there was a couple times where I was like, oh, wow, this is challenging.
It was my first bracelet that really almost broke me because, we've been saying, like, oh, well, Andrew, you're off the hook on this because,
and
you're
you are,
dealing
by the
with
way.
your hands. But, like, I don't like being that person.
I know you don't, but that's what I worry
like,
for you because this was hard enough. My hands were pretty cramped this morning.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with what you're dealing with, and I really, really don't want you to be a hero on this.
Well, but I wanted at least to do one, and I like doing stuff like this. I mean, that's the sort of irony here is like I really kind of like tedious little tasks.
Oh,
like
I
this
was
where you
thinking
can
of you. I was like,
turn on
this
the TV
is so for
and just
Andrew.
sort of zoom out or zone out, I should say. But so I'm talking to Genevieve on the phone, and I'm sending her photos as I'm laying out all my beads and everything. Beads, by the way, and
I'll spare the listeners.
I'm like, oh, okay, just like Carolyn mentioned on the Zoom last night, like maybe like string several together on one long piece of string that's still attached to the spool, and then you can sort of cut them and then tie them, but I'd never tied them before, and I had a little instruction manual from Bead World on how to tie it, and I'm like, oh, that's helpful. But the first one, I didn't leave enough. I didn't know this at the time. I just thought that I was incapable of doing it. I didn't leave enough string and I have really fat hands, and so to wrap the string around my fat hand and then try to get this little knot, that was. Now it's probably, I had everything set up by 10, and now maybe it's like 10:30 or something, and I'm trying to tie my first one off, and that moment almost broke me, because I tried it a couple of times, then the beads all spilled off. It didn't break, but the beads spilled off it a couple of times, and the closest thing I remember to this is when we did could this have been the 3,000th episode where we wore tuxedos and had bow ties? And I could not learn how to tie a bow tie. Genevieve went on YouTube and learned right away how to do it, and then learned how to do it in reverse so she could do it on me. But
that's like Ginger Rogers, backwards and in heels.
And she, and then she's like, and she's trying to show me in the mirror like how to do it myself, and I had forgotten this feeling that would well up in me a lot as a kid, where I'm standing in front of the mirror, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm almost emotional. I'm so frustrated, I almost started crying. This is the bow tie story. And what we ended up doing was Genevieve's like, I'll come backstage on the day of, and I'll just do it for you, which she did. I still don't know how to tie a bow tie. But last night, I'm like, I want to do this. I want to show up at least with one bracelet, at least one. I need to do this. And so somehow I finally got that one tied off. But then I started to realize, string is cheap. Let's let the tails on this thing, let's cut off a lot. We're going to have a lot of excess string in the garbage can. That is okay. It's in the budget.
I was rehearsing my speech to John for this morning about like, hey, we're going to need to invest heavily in more beads and more string because I'm burning through it.
That's right, yes. And also, John had given us a number of beads that are supposed to be on the bracelets. I was a little bit worried about them being a little
wildly
thin.
violated that rule.
Did you wildly?
Because the first one I made... I know they stretch, but the first one that I made, it stretched to my wrist, but I thought, well, if someone has a larger wrist than me, this might be at the edge of what this thing can stretch. And it had a lot of
string,
blank space.
Okay.
I did not want there to be blank space. It's great in a Taylor Swift song.
I was going to say, ironically.
Not great on a friendship bracelet. So I made the executive decision to really load up on the beads.
So the instructions we were given by John was 25 total beads. So for me, my word was friendo, which meant I needed like 9 beads on either side of that.
Friendo.
I know it doesn't matter because it ends up being a circle, but I was doing like 9 beads, friendo, and then 9 beads. So that would it would add up to 25. I ended up going up to 27, but thinking I should be going up to 30.
I think I was supposed to have 8 beads, and I think I went with like 74 beads.
You guys.
It's actually it's like a thing you would see Lenny Kravitz wearing. It goes around your neck 7 times. It's a massive. No, I probably went. I think I probably added like 4 beads per or something, and I was decent. I felt okay about the result.
It's not an exact science.
Absolutely not. I want to be clear, John.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known how to do any of this, so I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to drag you.
No.
You've done a great job. This is just the kind of thing that we had to all just like do it.
Yeah.
And then learn. Oh, it actually needs a little tweaking. Like I would have shown up here with 1 spool of thread and like 8 beads and been like, all right, let's do it, guys. So like this is all working out.
Yeah.
It's just a learning curve for all of us.
And I don't feel attacked. I will say I was wildly wrong on the amount of beads is not an exact science. I was wildly wrong on the string because in my brain I'm like, oh, it's like it stretches out your tie, but I found myself in this situation. That was my breaking point. Was tying it. And the first you talk about breaking, Luke, my first bracelet I was making, which took me about 40 minutes before I finally honed it in. It was like trying to tie. It was too thin. It broke. Beads went everywhere, and that was the moment.
There's something about the beads. It's very cinematic when the beads go everywhere.
Like a John Woo film, slow mo.
It's just
some
like
doves flew in.
It's just because it's so precise. There's just like it's just like very painstaking thing, and then it's just like it's like you opened a fake can of nuts of mixed nuts. And all the springs went everywhere. It's just like it's very frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. So it took you 45 minutes to kind of get it dialed in. So you now acknowledge, even though I'm looking at a bin right over there that has tons of spools
need more spools
of thread, you're going to get some more for that.
I don't even want to think about going through all of those spools of thread though, because I was going pretty hard last night, and I've still got. I went like halfway through one spool of thread.
I have an
if
important
that.
question for you guys.
Yes.
And I think I know the answer to this.
What are our totals?
Are you doing double knots? Because I was doing double knots.
I'm doing triple knots.
You're
Triples
doing
are
triple
best.
knots? Nice.
I
Triples
think
are
I have
best.
like quadruple or
But I'm
quintuple
not
knots.
doing.
Just nine the hell
I
out
just
of
want
it.
to warn you: if you get a slabjacking bracelet, be very, very gentle when you put it on.
Slabjacking.
So because I watched, so like the first thing that happened for me last night after I kind of set up my workspace and got the first bracelet threaded was I was like, how do I even tie this? So I then went to YouTube, which, wow, what a world. What a world of, there's hundreds of videos of just Australian women telling you how to tie elastic friendship bracelet.
Really?
And they're like, they tie in these extremely complex knots. They will dot it with hot glue. They'll snip it. They'll move the knot within the beads. And I tried that and with limited success. And eventually I just got to doing a triple knot and doing the kind of thing where you sort of cinch it down so that there's not a bunch of dead space in the bracelet. You want the bracelet. You want the beads.
Yeah, I have a loosey or two. Some people are going to get some loose.
There's
bracelets from
there's
me.
going to be a couple of slabjacking bracelets that, let's be honest, kind of suck. But just
But if you get that bracelet,
imagine
you got one of the first ones ever.
Imagine being the first person to get Michelangelo's David
Yes, exactly.
before he'd really worked out the genitals. That's sort of what this is. It's look away, children. This is the early in the
shield your
artistic
eyes.
process. It probably took me an hour plus to get my vowels, to get my little workstation, and then to figure out my system. And this is what I landed on. I don't know if this is the preferred method or not, but I would lay out 10 the beads for slabjacking. I would lay that out 10 times, and then I had a bowl with my colorful beads, and I would grab 8 colorful beads and I would thread those, and then I would thread the slabjacking, which I never got it down where I could just do the needle through. I had to put each letter on.
I could do 2 or 3 at a time sometimes.
I don't know if being on a towel, the towel was good because things didn't roll around, but it wasn't ideal for like threading the words. Anyway, so I do like the 8 beads, the slabjacking, 8 more beads, and one end of it was always on the spool.
Yes.
Because I did not want to lose it. And then I would snip the spool end, bring it together, tie it, pull it tight, triple knot it, pull it tight, and then while holding it, take my scissors and clip that, and then rotate the knot within the bracelet. And that would be job done. And I timed myself, and the fastest I could do it was 2 minutes.
Oh wow, that's pretty fast. I don't.
But
think
then,
that beats
but
my-
there's the
But you
setup.
didn't put
There's all the setup.
You didn't put more than one. See, what I did basically the same thing. Only I would set up about 3 or 4 of them on the spool, and then start cutting.
Oh, that
down
made me
the
too
line.
nervous.
And that's kind of when I got near the end. But I still was nowhere near as fast as 2 minutes. So
Well,
I think I do
was
not
the best.
Have a lot to
that
show
was
for
the
myself
fastest one I did. And by the way, there was a lot of ones where I broke the string and it was 43 minutes. You know what I mean?
You know, so a couple of things one thing that I think you'd appreciate about what I was doing last night. So I'm in a hotel room, which, by the way, it's as we've described, it's a humble little room. It's fine. It does have like an air conditioning unit, which on a hot night that was definitely an advantage that John and I had. And it has a good big desk. You know how sometimes they have kind of crappy. This was a good, so it was like perfect for bead making. But after making 1 or 2, so I have to take my glasses on and off. These are progressive when it came. So glasses on for the threading and glasses off for the tying.
Gosh.
But then I realized what I should do is grab that other lamp across the room and bring it over. So I'm now rearranging. There's 1 lamp on the desk, but it wasn't great. So I bring over 2 lamps. Game changer,
Yes.
more light. And then what I would do is I just had like a big pile of colored beads, but then I had a small pile of Fs, small pile of Rs, all the way down on Friendo. And then just sort of went like 9 colored beads and then down the line of backwards, O, D, and blah, 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 blah. More coloreds, tie it up.
My breakthrough was I didn't have to spell slabjacking backwards. I could go in the other end with the thread.
Oh, so you were doing it for a
interesting. While I was
okay.
doing it backwards, and I was like A B C D. Okay, hold on. And I realized, why am I threading this backwards? Why am I threading the word slabjacking backwards? Why don't I thread it starting with the S?
Oh, that's interesting.
So I
yeah,
went
why
beads
did I do
S, but I started off doing it backwards as well.
But backwards was fine for me because I just arranged all the beads in order in little piles of FREA, and then I just started from the back end and just kind of went through them.
I want you to know there are maybe 1 or 2 bracelets that are going to have the B might be backwards. Just think of that.
Again, the upside down
I did,
airplane.
by the way, I want you to know, I did have probably 4 or 5 times, I made the decision to stop and undo what I had done and redo it correctly.
Did you?
Which is shocking
because something
coming
was
from me.
facing the wrong way, you mean?
Yeah, or like I would like one little funky problem I could live with. 2, and it just feels like I'm sending out an inferior product. So if I like lost a letter and a different letter was backwards, it's like we can't send that out. That's not. We've moved far away from the august history of the word slabjacking.
Well, I will say so.
Slabjacking.
When I told you I had that moment at the very beginning where I was like, I don't even know if I could make one of these. And I was just like really kind of, again, I wasn't crying, but I was very, very frustrated. But then once I kind of got it down a little bit, I did not want to stop. I kept telling myself, okay, make this your last one, and then as a treat, sort out some more vowels. I was like, I'm going to get to the end. And what I did was I set up a laptop in front of me and put on BoJack Horseman. I had bought a pack of Bodhisattva beer, and I just sat there with a can of beer and BoJack Horseman and beating these things, and I think I forced myself to stop around 1 or 1:30, and I could have kept going.
I will tell you this, for all the
mode.
complaining I've been doing about separating the vowels, there was something very zen about it. I got into a mode where I would dump out a mixed bag of vowels, and then I would just push it, and I would pull aside I needed A's and I's. I'd pull aside the A's and I's, and I would just keep moving, and then I'd end up with a pile that had no A's and I's in it, which I found the whole so I started off listening to various magazine articles through the New York Times audio app. Then my phone died, and then I just sat there for like probably an hour and a half to 2 hours listening to crickets, literally listening to crickets while I did this. It was like a very oddly meditative thing, and I felt, Andrew, like, I don't know if I've ever felt more connected with you, because I thought this is what Andrew likes about this kind of stuff. It's like you're doing enough that your brain is engaged, but also not so much that your brain is overwhelmed. It's like I felt like I was playing Hex Empire. I felt like I was doing a very Andrew thing.
Yes, and your brain doesn't turn off. It just goes into a different mode where
It's
it
like
just sort of
sleep,
processes
kind of
things.
sleep mode or kind of low power mode.
But you are processing things though, in a way, and so that's where. So the big reveal today will be how many bracelets did we all make.
This
but
is not a competition.
I also want to talk though about kind of our plans for the rest of the day, because I realize it's only Tuesday in the Thon, but it sort of feels, and John, you were kind of alluding to this, it sort of feels like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes since you picked me up on Sunday. And again, we haven't done anything all that arduous, but just like kind of a lot of stress in getting these things, set up. And the Zoom last night took us until, I think we maybe ended around 7:30, 8 o'clock or something. So I was sort of wondering, I don't want to be antisocial today, but I kind of want to get back into my bead making. And so I'm kind of wondering, like today, when we kind of wrap up here, we have to set up bead cam later, where we'll have a 24-hour shot of the, I guess it's a bracelet cam, not a bead cam.
Well, there are beads on the bracelets.
That's right, yeah. But once we do that, I'm kind of like, should we just kind of go our separate ways and go back to the beading life?
I mean, honestly, if we're going to make any headway on this, I think. Well, the other thing I couldn't kind of get out of my mind last night was thinking about the number we're trying to get to by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And just how tall, ideally, how high that mountain is, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because every
challenge
bracelet,
us.
Yeah, seriously, every bracelet we make, it means that we're getting a donation from someone, which is, of course, the whole point of this week. But yeah, I was thinking like we sort of lost some time yesterday because we were just getting our feet under us, and we were doing. We had the Zoom and everything. Today is probably a good day for us to try to make some real progress on the project, because then tomorrow we've got another Zoom.
Yep.
We just like the week is going to go by really, really quickly. I also want to say to all of the listeners who have expressed fear when they heard about this project, you couldn't have been more right. You could not have been more right. This is a very ambitious thing that we're doing, and I don't think we knew how ambitious it was going to be. So, all of that being said, should we do a quick tally? Should we see where we're at?
Well, before we do the tally, I just want to raise one more thing that I just thought of that I wanted to talk to you guys about today, because we may have another slight issue in our plans. Maybe not. Maybe not. You guys tell me. But I don't know if you guys did the same thing I did, which was kind of made yourself a pile of your bracelets that are done. I eventually transferred them into like kind of a clear plastic solo cup that I took from your kitchenette here, Luke. So I've got a little cup with my bracelets.
Solo cup back.
But have you guys tried yet to dump it out and like do a recount? Because one thing I notice is these bracelets like each other, and they love to get tangled up in each other. And I'm wondering if, I love the idea of filling up this jar in front of us with bracelets, but I'm wondering if we're going to hate ourselves later because we're going to dump out the jar and then have to untangle all of it, when really I think what we need are some like paper towel tubes or something to put these things on.
I think we'll hate ourselves later regardless.
That is true. I will definitely.
Let me put it this way. As of right now, I don't think we have enough bracelets for it to be a big problem. Once we get towards like 1,000 bracelets, then I think maybe we need to come up with a better system.
Okay, yes. But so bead jars on, but that is just one thing that we need to think about for the future. At some point, somebody, John, is going to have to untangle.
That's going to be a good problem to have. And John, please be gentle. I'm so not confident about the structural integrity of my slab jacking bracelets.
Can I make 2 points on the structural integrity? We've heard this from people, and I also saw in some YouTube videos. When you do get your bracelet, you're supposed to roll it. Don't stretch it out. Like, you roll it over your hand.
I would like people to just gently place their slab jacking bracelet on a shelf or somewhere else that you display.
Exactly.
That you display handsome items that you're proud to have. I would say that's the best way to enjoy a slab jacking bracelet.
There's a second tip too, and we got from some listeners too, that we're not doing, is if you take some clear nail polish and put it on the knot, it helps preserve the knot.
And I would encourage listeners to do that at home.
Exactly. So when you get yours, assuming it's still intact when you... No,
it will be intact.
Assuming the bracelet's intact when you get it home, just dab a little clear nail polish on the knot.
Well, that was the thing that I realized watching the videos was, I don't have that kind of glue. Oh, I don't have those kind of shears. Oh, I don't have that setup. I was like, I really should have watched a video on this last week. At literally like 9:30 last night, sitting in my yard, I was like, oh, there's a whole situation for this that I have done zero prep on.
Good on you for even watching YouTube. I just pulled out the sheet of paper that they gave me at Bead World and looked at how they tied it, and I just went to town.
All right.
I'm very excited for this moment. I mean, I think that, Luke, based on everything that you've said, I think that you probably have the biggest
I don't know. You've got a lot going on
No.
there.
This is just a bag that has a bunch of unbraided beads. John, do you want to go first?
Are we showing off some of the ones we made?
We're going to count how many
we're
we're
going
to put them in this jar.
We're going to dump them into the jar.
Okay, so
just dump them in the jar.
Put it near your
Well, can we
microphone.
okay, good. Mic the jar.
And let's make sure that we can are we seeing this on
I'm
the
gonna
on
start
the YouTube?
dropping them in.
Okay, here I'm going to make John big on YouTube.
Make
here.
me
Can
big
we do
on
that?
yeah.
Make me big.
Okay, here we go.
Make me big. Okay, there we go.
All right.
So, nice.
7.
That's a very
8.
That's a satisfying clink.
9, 10.
Woo!
All right, look at that.
My goal was 20, and at like 1:30
That's a satisfying
I want
clink.
to reiterate how much John had to go home and write emails to listeners and then compartmentalize them a million ways, and
and then compartmentalize his feelings about us.
Exactly. So
it's a lot of work. Okay.
John had 10. I have.
I'm
am I
highlighting
counting?
you. Now
1,
I'm highlighting you, Andrew.
2, 3. I know what the number is, so I hope I'm not pulling out more than one. 4, 7. okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, just one better than Johnny
Sure.
Boy. 11
Nice.
is not
11.
a contest.
I actually feel a lot better right now.
John had a lot more to do than me last night.
Yes, absolutely. I had the least to do of anyone, and also was on my home turf. I have all of these little stainless steel ramekins that
I see
you
them.
can
That's
use for
pretty sweet. Yeah, for little ketchup.
In
or
my
whatever.
wilder days, I kept those in the freezer and would put tequila in them because they make a pro tip at home for the children. Make a really great tequila shot glass, but
because in the morning it takes so long. To
well,
cool
exactly.
It off.
It just it chills it.
Take
but
notes,
I
John.
had access. I had for instance, Andrew, you've got a lot of beads in coffee, like
those are John's.
Or John's, a temporary styrofoam coffee cup from your hotel room. So I had kind of like home field advantage. I had access to like anything that I needed in terms of trying to organize and stuff. And I also, I thought my goal, let me put it this way. My goal was to do 100, and I did not get there.
Okay.
I got, but like halfway. I did like 50.
Holy crud.
Nice.
Luke.
Look at that.
Yeah. My goal this morning was to get up and do another 50, but I lost my needle. I was so delirious by the end of this that so this was my strategy with my needle. Every time I took my needle off of the thread, I put it in my mouth because it's like a needle you do an angioplasty with. Like you could thread it.
Oh,
through.
I also did an angioplasty.
Oh, well, that took up a lot of your time. But I
feel great, by the way.
These was on yourself.
These pipes are clean. Yes. Hold that jar up. That's a handsome-looking jar. Yeah, that's beautiful. Right on your camera there.
Oh, yeah. I've got a camera. There we go.
That's beautiful.
So
that's all of our work right there. So you did 50 right on?
Yeah.
So we got 71.
We have 71.
Are we good?
I mean, honestly, I think that's job done.
Nice.
71.
And the rest of you are all getting one bead. No, I'm looking forward to getting back into this and filling this jar up. Look at that jar. That jar is almost halfway full already.
Yeah, this is exciting.
And that jar will hold 1,500 bracelets. Right?
Well, that was the funniest thing. Was I don't want to sound ungrateful because it was very sweet, but Becca said, "Oh, do you want this jar for the bracelets?" And I said, "Yeah, but I think we're gonna have to make like in the thousands." And she said, "Well, you could use this jar." And I said, "Does that look like a thing that could hold 1,000 of something?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "Probably."
Looks like it holds about 100, but
yeah, but hey. Honestly, 100
is just 1,000 without another zero.
And also 100, it turns out, is very hard to make.
Yes, exactly.
We'll be lucky if we get to 100.
So I don't know if you have other vessels or whatever, but I guess do we still want to put a camera on this jar and that we fill it up?
I think we should. I don't think it's going to be quite the way we imagined it, which was like constant influx.
Yeah, because John and I are bringing.
That's
ours
okay
in
though,
from the
because
outside,
you know what? It'll still be like. Tomorrow when we meet up again, I think we'll look at this jar. I keep holding it up to the other camera, but here I'll hold it up on my one shot. Tomorrow, this jar will be, I bet you, totally full.
Is your watch telling you to take time to breathe?
It's telling me to stand up.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if it works.
I don't
it's
have
such
one
a
of those
low,
robo
It's such a
watches.
low bar.
Time to stand up.
Because then it says, it's just so patronizing.
I could actually use a little standing time myself.
It's so patronizing because
I'm
then
gonna
once
stay
you do
seated.
it'll say, "Congratulations," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you." Simmer down.
I get excited when and I know I've said this to you before, but when I have the mapping software on and you can hear the voice and you show up at your destination, it says you have arrived, and it always just fills you. It just really makes you feel like you've done something great.
The joke that I've always made is there is just almost never in life, and I don't know if people even use the like talking function anymore on things like Waze and MapQuest and Google Maps, but like. I go from being totally reliant on that voice to absolutely annoyed with that
Once
voice.
you know where
the
you're going.
second I see the place.
Yes.
Like
right.
in
I
half
see
a mile,
it.
take a right. And then it's like, your destination is ahead. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock.
Hey, I'm going to give out the phone number here and open up the phone lines if anybody wants to call in. It's 206.
Ahoy, hoy.
414-8285. That's 206-414-TBTL.
Yes.
We don't have anybody on the line right now because I'm just opening up the lines.
Okay, you can give us a call right now. And by the way, just want to say...
Thank you for being a 10.
We are, of course, here for the TBTL-a-Thon 15. Thank you for being a 10. And we've got some amazing thank you gifts for you, including... You may get one of these limited release friendship bracelets.
That's right.
More limited than we meant them to be. But anyway, we're working on it. We'll get there. John, what are some of the other thank you gifts we have for folks who are supporting TBTL this year?
Absolutely. In addition to your friendship bracelet, you can get a TBTL pennant ding, a TBTL Junior Slugger hat.
Thank you for being a 10.
A TBTL Junior Slugger Raglan baseball 3/4 length tee.
What is Raglan?
Thank you for being a 10.
That's through the stitching of the sleeves, I learned.
Okay, gotcha.
Starts at the collar.
You could also get your dazzling donor message on there or be thanked as a daily...
Thank you for being in a 10.
or get thanked as a daily donor. And if you have the means and feel super duper generous, you can also get the special personalized video from one of you guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Thank you for being a 10.
Is it one of us or both of us?
That's for you two to decide.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out.
I don't know.
We can collab. We can get together and
yeah.
knock some out.
Sure. Anyway, yeah. So those are all thank you gifts for donating, but mostly you are doing it to keep TBTL going, because where else are you going to hear somebody spend 25 minutes talking about a bad joke he made at the bar the night before?
Or 3 grown men strip bracelets. I was thinking about that last night. I don't want to get bogged down in the bracelet conversation, but I was on a real journey last night once my phone died of just like ruminating and thinking. And I was like, I have this headlamp on. It's 1 a.m. now. And I was like, what if my neighbor comes over? How do I explain this? Like, they probably wouldn't, but like, no. I, as you guys have noted and now noticed being here, I don't live in the middle of nowhere. I live in a cul-de-sac essentially, and my neighbors all kind of can see what I'm doing. And I thought, do they think they just see me pacing around with a headlamp on, getting things going in and out of the studio? Like, what are they thinking is going on? And how would I? And also, what if somebody with bad intentions showed up and then they just, my body was found the next day slumped over a bunch of slab jacking bracelets with a headlamp on. Like, how would we explain this
CBS
scene?
Sunday morning correspondent Lucas Burbank's body found.
He died as he lived. Slab jacking. Well, I had a thought yesterday as I was doing this. I was like, well, maybe tomorrow I can go back to the Triangle Tavern or something and just like get myself a table and set up a table somewhere in a bar and start doing this. And then I started thinking that's gonna require a lot of explaining and people coming over and being like, why is this man making a bunch of friendship bracelets? And it occurred to me, maybe I just belong in the confines of my hotel room.
I couldn't decide if this represented the apotheosis of my career or the nadir point. Like, part of me was like, I'm a 48-year-old man. I've worked in professional broadcasting for almost 30 years now, and I'm making friendship bracelets at 1 a.m. Either this means I have a very strong connection to this show and the people who like this show, or I've utterly failed in my career. I think it's door number 1. I embraced it as door number 1, which is every person who gets one of these slab jacking bracelets and puts it on, you can know that I literally sat there threading it so that it could exist, and I like that we have that. I'm not trying to pat us on the back. It made me actually feel good about things. As opposed to bad about things. But there were a couple of moments where I almost felt bad about things.
How would you feel about going to this call? We have a listener here
great
calling
about it.
from the 425.
Okay.
Ahoy, hoy.
East Sider.
Hey, who are we talking with?
Wow, this is DFTB in Seattle.
David from the basement. You please text me so that I can give you your proper, introductory audio here. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on.
Why are you cosplaying as an East Sider here?
Here he comes. It's our friend, David, from the basement.
I've been lurking on the chat.
Have you ever made a friendship bracelet, bro?
Yeah, I feel like at some church camp at some point we made bracelets. I feel probably.
Yeah. Did you find it to be as difficult as we're making it sound here?
Yeah, it's the tying the knots. Those knots are a real those are difficult for sure.
I had this wasn't my idea. This was Genevieve's idea. But before I'd even tied one of these off, Genevieve knew that tying was going to be the hardest part, and she said, "Well, why don't you just create one huge string of these beads and then bring it for John and Luke to cut and tie?" But that would be kind of like, hey guys, I did all the fun parts.
The loose ends, though, see, that makes me nervous. That's why I was doing them one at a time. I always wanted the left-hand side of the situation to be the spool, so that just couldn't go anywhere. But David, I don't want to talk bracelets with you. I want to talk something much more important, which is loader baseball, which when I walked into the studio yesterday morning, I was like nervous, stressed out about the production. This is obviously a huge part of our year and the way that we're able to keep TBTL going. John and Andrew were laughing. They were full of mirth, and it was because John was reviewing your Lord of the Rings fantasy baseball setup. Can you take us through this? Who do you have playing where?
Yeah, so I feel like I had to split it into two distinct teams, one being sort of the good guys, one being the bad guys. So our good guys I've coined the sluggers of the West.
Okay.
In Lord of the Rings parlance, the sort of fighters of men and elves and stuff are called the men of the West. So we're doing the sluggers of the West first.
Okay. Can I ask you, David, did you have how much of this list did you have before you ever heard us mention it on TBTL? And how much of it did you whip up for us?
You know, I'm not going to say that in the dark hours of listening to the Mariners weed away another victory that I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
And the fact that Gandalf the White would probably be a better manager than Scott Service, which
without question. I'd also trust him. I'd also trust him with the replay calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
So wait a second.
Well,
Are you automatically putting him at manager instead of on the mound as we did on the show the other day?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and and
I
think in his early days, I think Gandalf probably was a pretty stellar, Randy Johnson style pitcher. But nowadays, he's older. He's Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
lost
all
a
the
few miles on
experience
his fastball.
That's right. Yeah.
He's leaving it up in the
old
zone
Jamie
more.
Moyer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, David, then who do you okay, I'll let you do your lineup. Sorry.
Yeah, because I did the lineup sort of how you would see a baseball lineup, starting with who's going to start off first in the lineup, who's going to bat first. And so first up at left field, Legolas Greenleaf. Now we want Legolas to start off. He's got kind of an Ichiro aspect to him, really fast, really light on his feet. He's going to be able to span the entire outfield if he needs it. Major contact hitter. He can lay down on a bunt if you need it.
Absolutely.
He's going to get on base.
Can we agree
no
that the only endearing thing about this year's Mariners is their love of bunting?
Mm-hmm.
Like it genuinely fills me with joy when Luke Raley lays down a surprise. And by the way, Robles the other day, Robles hits a home run, and then the next AB lays down a surprise bunt. That is range, my friends.
I wanted to jump in here, David.
Yes.
So I have not looked at your list yet, but when I was on the show, I think this whole conversation began with me for some reason putting Aragorn in center field, and I think then that led us to kind of talking about what the lineup should be. I have since had that conversation with various people, and the number one piece of feedback I've gotten from people who know the Loader world is that I'm a fool for putting Aragorn in center field because that should be Legolas because he's so fast, he can range so much. But you have Legolas in left field.
I do. So I have Legolas in left field, and actually, spoiler alert, I do have Aragorn in center field.
All right.
Whoever you were talking to doesn't know their stuff. Aragorn can span almost the entire field as well. He's a ranger. He's one of the Dunedain. He knows what he's doing.
And also the center fielder in baseball, the center fielder has priority over the other fielders. He can call everyone off on a fly ball, and you need Aragorn for that.
And he's got star power.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yes, exactly. So Aragorn is center field. He actually is batting cleanup, so he's fourth in the lineup. Going back to the lineup itself, second in the lineup is Boromir, played by Sean Bean. He's our first baseman.
Yes, he is.
Solid.
I think he's got some long arms. He's sturdy. He's going to be your Ty France there, except that he can actually hit the ball.
Yes. Boromir retooled his swing in the offseason.
Yeah, exactly. And then next up, this is kind of a surprise. At shortstop, I have Mary Adoc Brandybuck, who is played by Dominic Monaghan. You would think you don't necessarily want a hobbit at shortstop. You want a guy who can kind of get up there and catch a line drive before it gets into the outfield. Here's the thing about Mary, though. He is, without a doubt, the best hobbit fighter that there is. He also, during the Lord of the Rings, drank what's called an Ent drought, which made him taller. So he's a lot taller than your sort of usual hobbit. He can get the job done. I like him in that third spot. I think he's gonna be able to hit some guys in, also get on the base. If he's on the base pass, I think he's also gonna be pretty speedy.
Yeah, he's gonna be trouble for the pitcher.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's going to get in their head. He's going to kind of be the oh gosh, who was Jose Caballero? He's going to be a little bit like that. which you definitely want. He's going to be cheeky.
Yeah.
And then next up in the lineup, like I said, Aragorn. You want him batting cleanup.
Yeah.
He's your guy. He's
Ducks on the
always
pond
gonna
for
be able
Aragorn.
to-
You love to see it.
Yeah. He's Mr. Double. He's always going to be hitting the double, getting those runs in. Next up, as catcher, I think catcher is going to be the obvious choice. It's Gimli, son of Gloin.
Yes, of course.
He's already low to the ground. He's stout.
Built like a
He
fire
can
hydrant.
he's going to take the beating. Yeah, exactly. He has one of probably the most powerful swings. He's swinging that axe around all the time. So he's going to be that kind of big dumper presence that you really want.
Absolutely.
He's also got a really he's a steadfast. He's got a strong personality. So he's not going to waver in the sort of middle of the season as you're losing some games. He's going to be there. He's going to be rock solid.
How is he with the pitchers? How is he with the pitchers?
You know, I'll get to sort of who my starting pitcher is, but I would say he's going to be real good. He's not super communicative, but like I said, you can kind of just see
That's
it in
okay.
his
He's just using hand signals, and if you're the pitcher, you're
Exactly.
not waving.
Hand signals,
you're
body
not-
language.
You're not waving Gimli off. You're taking his. You're throwing the pitch that he's telling you to throw. Right?
Imagine standing on the mound
Yeah.
and seeing him coming towards you. Like he needs to have a conference on the mound. That would put me in my place, certainly.
Yeah, true. You don't want to get to that point. After Gimli, so this is kind of, I wanted to stick to the members of the sort of quote unquote fellowship.
Thank you.
But you can't build out an entire lineup with just 9 people. You've got to have more folks. So I actually have in right field Boromir's brother, Faramir, who in my eyes is sort of the unsung hero of the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I love
He
it. It's
is-
kind of like Robbie and Sandy Alomar playing on the same team. We see brothers playing baseball on the same team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's similar to Aragorn. He's kind of more of a ranger. He can, like the name would suggest, he can kind of range around there in the outfield, cover right field. Got a really great arm. He
That's
can throw
great.
it all the way into third.
Nice.
Hit that. Won't even have to get the cutoff guy.
Oh, like
So
the Mariners,
I
he'll
love
miss the
him out
cutoff?
at right field. Yeah.
But he'll
Yeah,
be
exactly.
doing it on purpose.
Right, exactly. And Faramir is loyal. He's always going to be loyal to the team. He's never going to jump off and, head to the Yankees.
Whoa.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, sorry, John. You're outvoted here.
Sort of the regular throwaway line. Next up, moving on at third base, I mentioned third base, is going to be our own Samwise Gamgee.
Okay.
I find Sam to be sort of that Eugenio Suarez presence,
Yes.
or maybe a David Wright a la the Mets back in the day. I think Samwise is going to be he's got a great arm to throw it across the infield there.
I mean,
Love
he
him at that spot.
carried Frodo up the friggin' Mount Doom. Like this is the
Yeah.
guy you want playing the hot corner.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Next up at DH, got to have our designated hitter.
The pitchers don't hit in this league. The pitchers don't hit in Middle Earth.
No way. No,
Even in Middle Earth, they're like, we got to
got
speed
rid of
this
that.
game up. We're not getting enough offense.
Yeah, no, we got rid of that shit in the second age. Now we're in the third age. We've got a designated hitter.
Okay.
It's Eowyn. She's daughter of Eamon. She's
sure.
the one who in the movies she kills the Witch King. She is honestly the best warrior that you can
Is
have.
that
She's-
played by Liv
she's kind
Tyler?
of, no, she's played by an Australian actress named Miranda Otto.
Okay.
But she was my crush growing up. Some people were in the sort of Arwen realm. I was more in the Eowyn realm. She's a lady of Rohan, strong, fierce. She's a great DH. I don't think she's quite as much for power, but she's going to drive in some runs.
Like
I think
it.
she's going to be a good spot there. And then rounding it all out at second base, you got to have Jorge Polanco. No, I'm
Yes.
obviously that's got to be Pippin, the other Hobbit.
Yes.
second base is kind of a throwaway.
Well, it's where you
anyways.
put a really good fielder that doesn't have a particularly strong arm. So you want him fielding second base, but
Right.
he's not under pressure to throw it all the way across the field like you would if you were at third or short.
Exactly.
That double play chemistry with
Yeah,
Mary.
Yes, very good
Yeah,
point, John. Thank
great
you.
pick,
Exactly.
David.
That was sort of my thought process. Him, Mary, Sam, all in the
Love it.
infield.
It's like
Boromir,
good old
if you
Tinkers
remember
to
in the
Ever to
movies,
Chance.
Boromir kind of, and Boromir kind of looks after all of them as the first baseman, which seems right in that role. And then I also did have a pinch hitter. You always need a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
Bottom of the ninth, you need your pinch hitter coming in, and that of course is going to be Smeagol. Because
Chaos
he's
ball.
He's got that feistiness, and if you guys recall at the end of the trilogy, it's really Gollum who ends up destroying the ring. Sort
But
of
it's
inadvertently.
Smeagol, not
He's
Gollum,
going to be your guy
right?
to come in the clutch.
So this is Smeagol.
Well, so that gets to the other side. I think we're probably not going to have time to go
Probably
over the
not.
full sort
But
of
I will say
baddie
Smeagol is
list.
a first pitch swinger.
Spoiler alert.
Like when you put Smeagol in a pinch hitting situation, he's aggressive at the plate. He is going. If you throw him a fastball first pitch, he is gonna rock that.
We really can't get into the other
absolutely.
side of this, but were you just intimating that we have Smeagol on one team and Gollum on the other?
I love it.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
so
my.
Gollum is going to be the pinch hitter of the who I call the Mount Doom Bombers. That's the team managed by Sauron. And you guys probably wouldn't recognize any of the names on this team
Wait.
anyways.
It should just be
A
all
lot of
ring wraiths flying around the
Who's the
outfield.
pitcher? Who's the pitchers in this game? As George Brett once famously
starting
said.
pitcher. Starting pitcher for the Sluggers of the West, for the good guys, is obviously Frodo.
Oh,
Frodo
nice.
is the leader.
Sure, crafty.
He also here's the thing about Frodo. Not to have too much shade his way, but he doesn't really have a great skill set. I think
But you know
he's
what?
your pitcher. He's your leader. Everyone's got to get behind him, but he's not going to be able. He can't bat. He can't. He's not a great fighter.
He's
He's
like
not a great
Castillo.
batter.
He's basically Castillo. He gives up some runs early, but then he steadies himself, and then he'll give you 7 innings, and he'll give you 7 innings of 3-run ball.
He takes it the long way.
Yeah, he'll put you.
Absolutely.
He'll keep you
I
in the
think
game.
Exactly. And that then brings in our closer.
I'm worried about height,
Bilbo
though. Can I just
Baggins,
say, though,
actually.
are you not worried about height out there? Like a halfling? I don't want to be prejudiced.
Yeah, I think you definitely have a point there. I think I would worry more about height in fielding as opposed to pitching.
Yeah.
And so that's why I didn't. You notice I didn't put any hobbits out in the outfield.
Sure.
They're just going to get
It's tough,
lost out there,
Yeah.
tripping the grass. You don't want them out there.
I honestly see him more as a Marco Gonzalez then, like more of a is he like
Or
kinda,
like a Jamie Moyer, like David already said, not a physically imposing guy, but he's got a couple pitches. What he does is his changeup is so good that it really speeds up his fastball. So that's the scouting report on Frodo.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, well, no, that kind of sort of brings me to our closer, who's Bilbo, who I think even more so. Back in his day, I think Bilbo was a really, really intense. Like he was a flamethrower back in his day. Now he's sort of aged out a little bit. He still has a couple pitches, but he doesn't have the 4 pitches anymore. He has a couple of pitches. Has
His
that,
out
has
pitch,
that
his out
sliver.
pitch is whatever happens when Frodo tried to take the ring from him, and he goes completely demonic on him. That's the guy we want to see. That's your out pitch.
Yeah, and so that is your Sluggers of the West.
Oh, I love it.
And then like I said, the Mount Doom Bombers, a bunch of orcs, a bunch of ring wraiths.
Yeah.
All of that.
I mean,
so,
just the idea
there
the idea that you might have Smeagol trying to hold Gollum on base. Look out, LeBron and Bronny. There's a new family duo making the sports scene.
I also like that you've basically taken your fantasies for what Felix Hernandez should have done and put them all into Frodo. That's what I'm hearing there.
Yeah.
That he actually adjusted with
good point.
age and then went into the bullpen.
David, my big question to you though is: have you run this by Rick Riz on your Friday segment on Cairo Radio?
No, Rick is. I think Rick's a little more into probably the C.S. Lewis world.
Sure. He's a Voyage of the Dawn Treader guy.
No, but
he's
I will
like
say,
South
if any,
Side of Narnia.
if any of the if any of the savvy tens out there want to try to do some AI program to make Rick Riz call a game of the Middle Earth League baseball,
that would be amazing.
That would be incredible.
What I think would be amazing would be to turn AI loose on the project of creating. I don't know how the scoring works, but basically creating a loader fantasy league where, because John and Andrew are really into fantasy baseball and they're constantly comparing notes on how their teams did, like to just somehow make this into a thing that the tens could play along with. Like people can pick their characters. And I mean, again, I don't know how any of that works. I'll let the computer sort it out, but I could see, I'm just based on the comments, people seem to be very engaged with this content, David.
Oh, good. Oh, that's what I was hoping as I was writing this all up. And just another spoiler from the Mount Doom bombers. The closer obviously has to be Smaug.
Wow.
He's that real flamethrower there.
Yeah. I like the idea though of like Smaug like taking off from the mound, and then is it Aragorn in center? Just like finds the one little weak spot and hits him, and then throws up the no-fly zone.
Yeah,
symbol.
Wow. Find the weak spot.
Yeah,
good
you know.
call out. That's
So, it could
there
work.
you go.
Well, hey, David, I just wanted to say thank you for calling and thank you for your incredibly well-considered argument for which loader character should be at which position. And also, thanks for supporting the show. And congratulations to you and Alicia, man. That's I'm really stoked for you. Our family is growing.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I just, I have been a donator in the past, and I took a couple of years off for different reasons, but I can't stress how much this show means to me and how much every single day when I listen to the show, it makes me feel connected to my brother. It makes me feel connected to the tens and to, friends out there. So really love everything that you guys do. And I'll be tuning into the feed every day.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
you
Thank
and
you
love
so
you.
much.
And everyone go listen to the actual famous Burbank on the actual radio on Cairo's Morning News over there, because that's where you can find David.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks,
Nice.
Davey.
Congrats, David.
All right,
Bye
later,
now.
guys.
Bye. Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned this on air or off air, but after we had that little conversation about like loader baseball, I would say within 20 seconds I got a text from David saying,
Oh, I believe that.
I've got a team, and I was like, I couldn't be less shocked.
Before the show was even posted.
He sensed the disturbance out there.
I'll open up the phone lines again if you want me
right.
to do that. In the meantime, encouraging everybody.
And honestly, we're gonna keep today's show relatively compact because we've got bracelets to make.
We
my
really
friends.
do. Yeah, I'm worried about one thing here.
Just one thing?
I'm worried about all kinds of things. I'm going to take a phone call here, and maybe that's how we'll close out today. But I do want to say, in this jar, I'm already worried about this jar of bracelets that we've been holding up to the camera. Is there already a loose N in there?
That's probably me. I don't think it's because
nothing broke, right?
I don't think anything. Well, no, I don't think anything broke. I just
Why
think
is
we've
there
got
a
a loose
N
end
in there? Loose ends.
Yeah. I don't think we had a breakage. I think that we just had a.
Okay.
That also could be connected to something.
Maybe. I
Just
didn't see
activate the call, and I'll get to the bottom of it.
Ahoy, hey there. Who we got on the line?
Ahoy, hoy, this is Michelle.
Hey, Michelle in Minnesota.
Edina.
Edina.
I know.
That's right.
The more that people try to explain to me how to say it, the harder of a time I have. Hey, Michelle, how are you? By the way, thanks for the donation this year. That was insanely generous of you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And I want to tell you all, first of all, I don't pronounce Edina right either because I'm from Kansas.
Okay.
Right? I'm not a Minnesotan.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to give you a free pass on this one
Thank you.
because you're not from here. So I'm calling to tell you my story of trying to donate to my local public television station, a big, very well-funded organization. And it failed me last year, and I had to mail them a check. And guess what it did again this year? It failed me again. But the TBTL donation button works.
Go John Sklarov.
And go John, number one employee. I just want to say, they got a lot of IT support over there, and we have John.
Yes, and John's doing a great job. I want to tell you something, Michelle. What this show lacks in pronouncing the city where you live, and your name, honestly, at one point, and content, we make up for in very, very functional donation pathways, and that's because we need the money to stay doing this as a job.
Well, so does everybody else, but they can't seem to make their forms work. Anyway, have an excellent thon. I hope it doesn't get too hot. I did send you a text message saying if you don't have AC, you can always get those giant blocks of ice and put them in front of put a fan behind it and blow cool air.
Well, I'll tell you something, Michelle. I purchased 2 of these. I guess they're called swamp coolers. They're basically they're like a kind of a thing that you put some ice, although it's the kind of refreezable ice, and then water in this container, and then it's supposed to blow cold air from the cold water. And I set one up yesterday as things were starting to get really toasty in here. And again, the weirdest thing about being here this week is like right now it's completely comfortable in here, and then by about 3 or 4 this afternoon, and particularly this afternoon, it will be like almost unsafe to be in here. But I got one of those swamp coolers. I got it out of the box. I set it up. I put the ice in there. I turned it on. It made absolutely no difference. Totally and completely ineffective. And I am going to be returning it. And so I think we're just going to have to. Today is going to be the worst of it, but I think we'll get through it. But yeah, I think sitting on a giant block of ice like a kid on the Bowery in the 1910s is going to be a better approach.
Well, but you put a fan behind it and you blow it on you. We had a house in St. Paul with no air conditioning and had a 4th of July party once, and this is how I learned this.
Wow.
So you actually did this. You set up. What did you put the ice on? How did it not melt everywhere?
You put it in a pan of some sort, like a roasting pan or, just something big that'll catch the water. And, you can also go over if you're hot and dunk cool racks and put them on your head because that'll be very chilled drinks in the melt. It works great.
Okay. Well, this is good to know. Ideally by next year, we'll actually have a kind of functioning slight HVAC system here. I mentioned this recently that we were going to talk about it on yesterday's show and we didn't get to it, but I'm glad you bring it up, Michelle, which is people have been suggesting on the Stens page that I get something called a mini split, which is kind of the new thing that people are using. It's ductless. It draws during the summertime. It draws the hot air out of the room and makes it nice and cool. And in the wintertime, it does the reverse. They're very energy efficient. They're so effective that in Vermont, I think it's the coal industry is trying to start basically like a lobbying campaign to tell people that they don't work, even though they do, because and they're also much more environmentally friendly. I have one of these. I bought it. I'm waiting for my dad to help me install it, and I think there's something about it that intimidates him, which is really weird because he's so good at this stuff and he always figures it out. But like we've been sitting on this thing forever, and I think it has to do with the hole that we have to drill through the house. So my dad hates drilling large holes. I mean, I don't know if anyone likes it, but he particularly hates it. And so we keep putting it off. And he's going, yeah, it's going to be a real bear to drill that hole through the house. And I'm like, well, can I do it? And he goes, no, I've got it. So that's the whole dynamic between us is there will be something he doesn't want to do. So we will stall on a project. And then I will say, well, how about I just do the part that's just not technical, but just like leaning on this big hole cutter for a period of time. And then he'll go like, no, I'll do it. It's what I do. And then we just make no progress because he doesn't want to do it, but he doesn't want to let me do it.
Will you tell
Luke, I hate to tell you this, but he doesn't trust you. But
Well,
we have faith in Walt, okay?
Michelle, when you're right, you're right. And it's like Andrew talking to me about the headroom on the shot. When my dad is trying to go, you might want to do this. It always means if you don't do it this way, it's going to be a complete disaster, dude. Like, I do not think he trusts me with a lot of this. And he is right to not trust me because I mess all of it up. When left to my own devices, it's not good. But all that is to say, hopefully by next year, I don't know if we're going to be doing the Thon here next year, but by next year, next time it's really, really hot in the next summer, I should have a little bit of a better system in place.
So when are you going to announce your special show?
Oh, great question. Friday?
I was thinking a Friday announce.
Yeah. Friday.
That cool with you, Michelle?
What's the do you have any like theaters that I don't know hold? I think the capacity is like 7,000 to 10,000 in Edina. What's the situation in Edina? No. Okay.
You'd have to go to Minneapolis.
Oh, Minneapolis. I don't know. Overrated.
No, St. Paul. Come on.
Overrated.
St. Paul. St. Paul, yeah.
All right. Yeah, Friday we'll do that big announcement, Michelle. Thanks for reminding us. You're doing a lot of really useful production today with your call.
Right.
Thank you. And
How are
again,
the levels?
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
And my one last thing is, I think you should get John a post office box so we can send him fan mail too.
That's a great idea. And then I should get one because Andrew's getting all the cool stuff.
Do you guys know how much that post office box is?
I do because you sent me the
Oh,
receipt.
that's right. How much? It's $500 a year.
It's like $497
yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
Like oddly specific.
Yeah, they're
number.
kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Just send me the stuff you want to send to John. I'll go through it. I'll redact anything that I don't think is appropriate for him, and then I'll send it on.
But Michelle, it's very kind of you to say, but not necessary.
I love no one suggesting I get a P.O. box
Whoa.
because everyone knows I will never check it.
That's right. Just like your email.
I'm getting a little better with my email, Michelle. If you email me, luke@tbtl.net, I will. There's definitely a 50% chance I'll see it.
Okay.
All right.
And Santa Claus is coming soon. Power
That's
out.
right. Thank you. Bye, Michelle.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate you.
everything.
Love you.
Thanks,
Thank you for all your help. All right. Should we go ahead and wrap it up? I think it's been an eventful show. We got into the bracelets. We got a real deep dive on Loader baseball.
So let me get this straight and see if we can tell the listeners where they can find our progress report. We're going to wrap up the show now. And is our plan still to set up a little camera on this jar somewhere in your studio here where people can tune in at any point and just look at it? And we'll try to keep that. And I've never set up a 24-hour stream before, especially across several days. And so I'm not 100% sure that we'll be able to pull this off, but that will be the plan, a 24/7 cam on this jar. And I will put that up at TBTL.net at the top of the page when we get that set, hopefully later on today.
Yes, bracelet jar coming your way, hopefully.
Great. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page with that, and that's where you folks can find that at TBTL.net. What else can you do at TBTL.net?
Oh, John, any ideas?
You could donate.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be fun, yeah.
That would be so great. Thank you to everyone who has donated. And to those of you who are letting it ride, like if you feel good about your donation amount and you want to just keep doing that, that is also amazing. And we will be reaching out to you about getting you your thank you gift. You don't have to do anything. If you want to just stay at the level you're at, if you want to maybe go up a little bit, inflation and the like, that wouldn't be, the worst.
Andrew's been even funnier this year than he was last year, and maybe I want to support that kind of humor.
Absolutely. TBTL.net is the place to do that. And again, thank you so much for watching this. Thanks for being part of TBTL. And thanks for letting this continue to be a job for three people, insane as it is.
Yeah.
As mystifying it is to my mail lady who just drove by with a look in her eye. This is our thing. This is our job, and it's only because of all of you who are watching this and listening to it. So thank you very, very much. All right, we're going to be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio for you. So please do join us for that or tune in on YouTube at 10 a.m. West Coast time. In the meantime, have a great Tuesday. Take care of yourselves. And go Men of the West. Please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.